on the upper left corner. We could look at those that affect food intake from a peripheral standpoint, or fat absorption, or fat metabolism. We now know something about a lot of these genes. And in fact, in my laboratory, I have a postdoc who's working on looking at diabetes type 2 candidate genes in the pig to see how they affect fat deposition in the pig. Well, no talk on genomics would be complete if I didn't mention sequencing the human genome. And here are two covers from Nature and Science that announce the finishing of the sequence of the human genome. Just a couple of things were wrong. Number one, it wasn't finished, it was nearly finished. And the second is, it wasn't right, it was nearly right. Well, those things aside, they're enormous developments. One of these was a public effort, and one was a private effort, and they all came in well ahead of schedule. And from that information, if you look in the your lower right, this is from Genome Technology, almost all those human genes, or parts of them, can be put on what's called a gene chip. And that gene chip can be used to diagnose or genotype all of us. So it's incredible technology that's out there. Now, the problem is that when that hit the newsstands, people said, well, I can explain all the traits now about people. And so I have this cartoon here to try and describe what most of the common people thought. And you can look up here, and I was really hoping somebody's cell phone would go off tonight so I could say, there's the guy with the genetics for the inability to find the off button on the cell phone. I admire you. You almost not have that gene. I don't know where my daughter got it, but I know for a fact that she has the gene for willingness to spend $3.75 for a cup of coffee, even when she has no money. So that's one. And of course, I'll bet there are a lot of you out there that have the urge to purchase an SUV and then complain about gas prices. So I don't want to ruin your thought here, but those genes we probably won't know. But we will know a number of genes associated with behavior. But it's going to take a while. And certainly, knowing the human code is just the starting point. Well, what we're going to do in this case is we're going to take some of the old or central dogma that around, that a gene leads to a transcript that leads to a protein. We're going to use new technologies, genome sequencing, which I've already talked about briefly, transcript profiling, which many faculty are doing on campus, proteomics, a protein quantification and function, and we're going to test new hypotheses. Do these sequences contribute to phenotype differences? Do these transcripts contribute? Are there different proteins that are made? And we're still getting back down to our phenotype. We're going to try and understand why, for instance, there are fewer genes than we thought there were. Well, they make more different proteins and more of them, and this affects the different phenotypes. So we're really at the beginning. And in fact, I'll show you a slide in a moment to kind of make that point. Humans, as I said, we have an excellent, nearly complete genomic sequence for study. We created all these genomic centers, NIH did. There's all these people, all this equipment. They need to be doing something. They're starting to sequence rapidly microbes, animals, chicken, cow, dog, honeybee. A number of the plant species have been sequenced. They're incredible value. Even though the comparative nature of knowing sequences of other related mammals is important, we still need to know the sequence of the species of interest. And one of the things that I'm going to start campaigning for, I hope pretty effectively, and I'm glad to see Rich Degner here, because Rich, I'm expecting some money from you guys, is we need to raise $50 million for the pig sequencing effort. Now, you might say, wow, that's a lot. Well, about $20 million has already been pretty much raised. So this is an international effort to raise $50 million. And I'm hoping later this year to work with people on campus, with the Iowa Value Funds, with the Iowa pork producers and others, that Iowa can make a contribution to this sequencing effort. It's so important for our agriculture, but it's also important, I hope I've made this point, for human health and for other things. Well, I was in the UK this fall, and to commemorate the 50 years since the discovery of the structure of DNA, they have a series of 5 stamps. And this is one of them. Shows these scientists, and that's not me in the far right there. It shows these scientists putting together the pieces to a puzzle, and they're just about to finish, and it's really only the first piece of a bigger puzzle. And this says it's really the end of the beginning, and that's where we're at. And so what does this mean for us as humans and human health? Well, it's a beginning. you can now go to the doctor, and you could say, well, if you're unfortunate enough to say that my family, there's been instances of breast cancer, can I be genetically tested for the possibility that I have the mutation in a gene called BRCA1 or BRCA2 that would raise my probability of having familial breast cancer? Those tests now exist. In fact, there's a lot of discussion now about differential drug treatment. So I could take that gene chip, I can test people, and I can decide, no, you only get 2 doses of this, no, you get something else. So we can be thinking of, instead of, you don't go to the doctor and he says, take 2 aspirin and go to bed, he says, I got to have your genotype first, and then I can tell you what the prescription will be. And that's where we're headed. We're certainly headed towards new vaccines and more effective ones through microbial genetics and genomics. And with all of these issues, there's really a threat to humans and to us as persons. And that threat is, it might be discovered that we have some susceptibility to disease. So the first thing we think of is, I don't want the insurance company to know that. Well, there's what's called the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2003. The Senate has passed it. It's before the House. Hopefully the House is going to pass it in the next few months. This is extremely important. Any of you that has health insurance, any of you that are worried about the cost of health insurance and whether your insurability will exist in the future, we need to convince our congressman to approve this bill. This will help protect us in the future. So it is a beginning, but as the science cover from just 2 weeks ago says, this is genomic medicine. We're really moving ahead. Well, where are we moving ahead at Iowa State? Both the president and the provost mentioned the new initiative called SCIAG, and I want to publicly, on behalf of Susan and myself, thank President Joffrey and Provost Allen, and especially Dean Wotecki, who's also helped commit money to it, and also to Walt Fair, who's put in some money from biotech. This new initiative is to address issues related to animal genomics, and that's it ranges widely, way beyond livestock genomics. This is animal genomics, comparative genomics, bioinformatics, all related to animals, Drosophila, all kinds of species. And we're quite excited about it. It builds on the strengths of animal and comparative genetics and genomics, and on work in microbial, animal and microbial interactions, and certainly the strengths in the bioinformatics and computational biology area. There are lots of potential benefits. Of course, improvement of livestock, that's going to be a big one. But human health benefits also. It fits well with other initiatives, in particular the Plant Science Initiative, which has done such a great job, and also the bioinformatics effort that resides within the Plant Science Institute. It's going to hopefully, it'll fit very well with the Food Safety Initiative, and of course we think it's going to enhance economic development in the state. And we're very excited about it, and we appreciate all the support we've received. There are over 50 faculty members now. We have a small grants program that's going to be announced here just in the next few weeks, and we encourage faculty and students that are interested to contact Susan or myself. Well, I want to wrap up now, and I hope I've made at least a reasonable case tonight that the 16th century proverb that said you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear is in fact wrong. You can use animal genomics and comparative genomics research to benefit not only modern agriculture, but animal health and well-being and human health. And I think there's some very exciting work that's being done here at Iowa State. I want to acknowledge a large number of people, and I'm sure I've left somebody off this list, both my colleagues in animal science, people that are past and present in my laboratory, and a large number of collaborators from all around the world. But I want to make a special comment about one person in particular. One of the great things about Iowa State, I think, are not only are the great students and staff that we have here and faculty members, but is the collegiality that exists. And when I came to Iowa State in 1980, I met a guy by the name of Loren Christian, and I had an office next to him, and Loren was an incredible mentor. And without him, I'm sure I wouldn't have gotten the start that I did. And I want to publicly acknowledge that. I know Loren's brother's here tonight, and he was a great guy, and unfortunately he passed away just too early. Again, thank everybody who's given me some of the ideas for the talk. Susan was quite helpful, and I appreciate that. And again, I want to make a comment. Thank you again for the honor to be the presidential lecturer tonight. I'm sure many people deserve it, probably a lot more than I do, but I very much appreciate that. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to work here at Iowa State, and I just want to say thank you.
Dr. Rothschild is willing to take a few questions if you have a few to give him.
I'll go first, but the rest of you better be better. You have a wide, diverse audience. I'm from political science, so I'm certainly happy. I'm going to go home and announce that there must be a gene to direct some people more than others to eat lunch at Godfather's. Second thing is, I wonder if there is a gene that makes or tends to make some people Democrats and others, probably the mutated type.
Well, I can actually answer that question. There used to be a journal called the Journal for Irreproducible Results. And many of you, if you're in the sciences, know that it's really a fun journal to write to. And I actually do have an article published there. It's probably one of my most important publications. But I actually sent in one on the genetics of choice of party. And unfortunately, it was rejected, and I assume it's because the editor was a Republican. Other questions?
Max, let me say you did not disappoint. I congratulate the President for making the selection to have you serve as the inaugural speaker in this lecture series. Now, I also want to thank each of you for coming and hope that you'll be able to attend the next lecture in this Presidential University Lecture Series. Thank you very much.